Okay, so um, just to pick back up where we left off, we have the divorce hearing. Patricia leaves with the protection order and divorce decree. A couple days later, it wasn't that long, it was like a week, Patricia, for the parenting order.
It was 2 weeks, almost three.
It was in the scheme of things, it feels like an eternity to leave. You prepare for these hearings for months, and then
It
you
was
go in there, and
first.
the judge says, "Okay, great, thank you. I'll take it under advisement, and I'll have a written ruling to you sometime."
It
And you
was
never know when it's going to be.
it was the first week in September,
Yeah.
like a
So,
Friday.
in the scheme of things, the parenting order came out relatively quick. He did bifurcate the orders. A lot of times the courts will do one big long order that has everything in it. He did not do that. He dealt with Patricia's request to relocate and her parenting. So the parenting order came down. Patricia was named what we call primary parent. Some states call it primary custodian. We don't use the term custody. They think custody connotes ownership. So Colorado's pretty much abolished the custody language.
So, Jill, sorry, bifurcate means he took it like item by item. Is that what that
No,
means?
he separated the two issues. Sorry, thank you.
Okay,
Bifurcate.
okay, okay,
So like basically there was the parenting plan and the property issues. So he split them up into two orders. Instead of having
okay.
one big long order. And I think he did that because first of all, they have a lot of property. They had a lot of different accounts. It
Okay.
was hard to figure out what Ricky had done. I'll be honest with you. I tried. I mean, I have an MBA. I'm not the best mathematician, but I can add numbers and I can read bank statements, and I couldn't quite figure out what Ricky had done. I don't know if the judge did either. The judge didn't feel that he had misappropriated funds. I disagree. I think Patricia does as well, but
Well, seeing as he went out and supposedly bought a house right after everything was finalized.
we don't know that for sure. We don't have anything verified for sure, so we can't be saying that.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't know. We don't want to get sued for defamation, false claims. So we know what we know, but we don't know that. But yeah, anyways, long story short, the child order gave Ricky 51 nights of parenting time a year. He gets just every spring break, alternating Thanksgivings, 1 week at Christmas time, and he gets 1 month in the summer. That's what he gets. Currently under this order. That's a very, very slim parenting order. In fact, there's two different ways to calculate child support. There's sole care, which is what Patricia got, and shared care. Shared care, the other parent has to have at least, I believe it's 94 overnights per year for the court to modulate it up to shared care. So, anyways, child support order came down. She was granted permission to go to with the children. The children had already started school for the year. That's why we tried to have the hearing in March, so that if she could be done, then the kids wouldn't have to be pulled out of school, but it didn't work out that way. Patricia did not put the children back in Lighthouse Baptist this year. She enrolled them temporarily at the Lewis Areola School, and then when she got permission to leave, along with a deadline, she had to leave. The judge told her, if you ask me for this and you don't go, I'm going to reallocate parenting time. So he gave her a deadline to get out of the state, and I believe Patricia packed up and moved within 2 weeks.
Less than that, because he gave me the deadline, pretty much had to be out in 2.5 weeks. I was out in 12 days.
On her
So
way to, yeah. And we did have to get rid of some stuff. Ricky actually had a number of bicycles that were pretty expensive bicycles. What did you do with those, Patricia?
I could not get rid of them. Nobody wanted them because they were so specialized and so expensive. They were dead weight. So I just left them there.
So he got about $12,000 worth of bikes.
Oh, yes, at least.
They tried to charge Patricia $875 for his professional cleaning of the house. But yeah, so she leaves. We're waiting on the separation agreement. And the court did order her in the order, which was kind of weird. I've never had this happen. The court ordered her to transfer the child's case. Now, I believe that's the right move. And the reason why the court is ordering that transfer is because Ricky's promised he's moving to Texas. So the Colorado court, if Ricky stayed in Colorado, hypothetically, the Colorado court could retain jurisdiction because the home state is the first state that issues the parenting time order, and it remains the home state unless something happens. So if the parties agree to a transfer, That's one way that, jurisdiction can be terminated. If the children live in another state so much that there's significant contacts there, like their doctors, teachers, etc., that would need to testify. That's, convenience of witnesses is one reason to transfer. And then the other one is if all parents and the children have left the original state, which I don't know where Ricky's living at this point in time, but Ricky has represented since January when he was working hand in hand with Tisha Strawn that he's moving to Texas. So Trisha has to go find a new lawyer. And so I was making phone calls on her behalf. I called a bunch of agencies there saying, hey, we need a PO box. We need to get these kids enrolled in school. We're not going to have a permanent address for her. She's a domestic violence victim. Help me. And actually, I can say the people I spoke to, both people at the court and at this advocacy agency, they were both very helpful to me, which was great, and got Trisha hooked up. Unfortunately, I do think they have a wait list, but at least she's got some connections there. And she started the process of transferring that case. Sorry, my nose is itching. Of transferring that. Meanwhile, the property order comes out. And even though I believe it was in Ricky's favor, it came out on September 13th. We knew Ricky was going to do something, because every time one of us gets a little bit of a win, the domestic abuser will go on the warpath. So I was like, be ready, he's going to do something. That should be in her file.
Nope.
Set the motherfuckers up, because I have a record of it. So I'm going to hand it to Kent Pace and say, hey, Kent, is this in her file? Because I gave it to them. You got them. So we're going to see what they're going to do. I think they're going to dismiss Patricia's case and we don't have to go there. But if not, I got the ace in the hole. And so at the present time, that's where her paperwork, he ignored the deadline. And they were supposed to have the case transferred on November 21st. And then I know we discussed it last night, but we'll have to put it in here. What ended up happening was Ricky, at the last minute after he had missed his deadlines, hired a lawyer who sweet talked the lawyer Patricia had paid for, who agreed to cancel her hearing without speaking to her. And they have no court date on addiction. And Ricky Thompson did that and manipulated another professional to not help Patricia Thompson. And I believe, if I'm correct, that's where we stand with Patricia Thompson's case. Yep.
Hey, Patricia,
Yes.
when do the girls go for their parenting time with Ricky for Thanksgiving?
They will leave Monday morning, and they are supposed to return Saturday evening.
This is 2 days from now.
Yes.
2 days from now.
This is this Monday.
We're recording on November 23rd, 2024.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're supposed to come back Saturday evening. While we were discussing this, I got a Talking Parents notification that he wants confirmation of spring break dates. So he's up.
Fuck that. You can confirm with that. He can get a school calendar.
Yeah,
Ricky.
I know. That's the thing.
He has the ability to contact the schools. The court ordered
fact-
you to list him.
Yeah, the court ordered him.
Does he know what the school is? Does he know?
Does he know what school they're at?
Yes, he does. I was required by the court to tell him what school they're going to.
So
Yeah.
this is what I've advised. This is what I advise all my clients to do. And Patricia, I'll just ask you after I say what I do, if it works. I tell them, do not deviate from the court order. Follow it to the letter.
I have
Do you
done
do that?
the one.
Here's why. It's not perfect, but the minute that they start willing, dealing, and negotiating, she'll lose all control. It's the weirdest thing, because I think this is where we need to have a really brief discussion about our thoughts on how this order went down. We're pleased with the order. We got the majority of what we asked for. However, if you look at the property settlement, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I want to be very clear. I'm very pleased with the work that Judge Blue did, because I think even his hands were tied. He realizes that this is a very special case. He gave us 2 CFIs. He gave me a CLR. He made sure that last hearing went off and did not entertain any continuances. They did try to file a last minute continuance, and the judge said, absolutely not. And so I think he tried to control it the best he can, but I think this is the reality of the Colorado, well, not just Colorado, I think it's the entire country. This coercive abuse is getting so rampant, and our laws are not written to address what is happening. So the tactic of these abusers that they're getting away with is they know that they have certain procedural rights in the court, and they know that if they fuck something up, they can get a continuance over and over and over and over again. And now my government opposing parties like CPS always did that. I'd have to tell my clients when I was doing CPS cases, like, listen, we can only go to a certain point and you got to be realistic because they can bankrupt you. They have unlimited funds. They can keep this going as long as they want. But I didn't usually have opposing parties doing that, like private parties. It was government actors that did that, or like big businesses. So all of a sudden, I have a husband or a wife doing that to their spouse and just making up shit that requires us to get a hearing. And the whole entire time I'm screaming, Judge, this isn't fair. She needs attorney's fees. But the problem is this, even though the judge knows he's doing something wrong, because we have no fault divorce, the judge can't really admonish him. And if we can't catch him on a protection order violation because our cops and our DAs are blowing off her valid complaints and the CFI is trying to say that Tisha's lying or Trisha's lying, then we have this whole problem where we go and get the court order, and then the agencies that are supposed to help us enforce it tell us to fly away. And it looks like we're just making noise and trying to get Ricky in trouble. So the longer the case goes on, and the more these cumulative little violations of the law add up, it's a really big burden to the victim because they have to pay excessive amounts of money. Patricia, how much did you have to pay me from start to finish? Do you remember? I can look it up. I can tell you what your bill's at right now if you're okay with me saying that.
That's fine.
Let me look it up real quick. I'll tell you. Your initial retainer, like I said, I think you paid me $4,800 for your initial retainer. You paid that to me, I believe, in September of 2023.
Correct.
I still have billing that I need to do on Patricia, but as of right now, her bill, and this isn't just necessarily to me, this includes court costs, it includes professional fees, things like that. She has paid me a total of $45,729.75. $5,445 in expenses. And we're not done. She's paid me more than what her annual salary was in the year that I represented her. And luckily, Ricky had tied up those money with CFI, with those CD monies, so she had money to be able to pay me because I didn't want to leave Patricia hanging, but this is my only source of income. So if I have a client who can't pay me, and I've gotten myself into that trap before of like feeling sorry for the client and then bankrupting myself, I couldn't do it. And Patricia knew that. We even talked about whenever I had to leave, me potentially stepping off, but I think the universe worked it out in a way. Patricia and I have talked about that. The hearing had to happen in August. It gave us more evidence of Ricky doing stuff where by the time we got to hearing in August, Judge Pluid was pretty pissed at him. I don't know if Judge Pluid knows about. I'm sure he probably does. But here's our challenge. We believe that Judge Pluid doesn't want us to reopen the case. We believe that every time we've tried, even on small things, like there was a minor little issue that was in the parenting plan where he had allocated phone calls to Ricky on Patricia's time, but neglected to allocate phone calls to Patricia when the kids are with Ricky. And I know it was an oversight. I know he did not do that on purpose. I know he did not do that on purpose. It was just an accident. It's a big complex order. That being said, Patricia's like, well, I don't think this is fair. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So I tried to handle it just through Rich, like, hey, Rich, the judge left this out. Would you agree that can we stipulate? And what Ricky was ordered with phone calls is he get 2 phone calls a week. So we asked for the same thing. When the kids are with Ricky, mom gets phone calls at the same time. And Ricky countered back that he agreed she should get phone calls, but she should only get one and they should be limited in time.
5 minutes.
5-minute phone call. She should get 1 per week. He gets 2 phone calls up to 30 minutes per week. So we filed a motion, and I can tell immediately by Judge Plu's response. I figured he'd grant it right away and be like, oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Well, that's because I know him and I've worked for him so long. So when he didn't order it, and then he kind of asked like Ricky, like, well, are you going to respond? I was like, this is weird. And then I realized this, he can't take jurisdiction. And wouldn't you know, Patricia was ordered by the court as soon as she obtained employment. She was required to tell Ricky within 14 days, 15 days.
14, I had to tell my abuser.
She has to provide him her
Yep.
financial statements
Yep.
and how much
Yep.
she was making. So as soon as she got a job, I contacted Rich right away and said, hey, she got a job. New rate of
Why
pay.
are they divorced?
Huh?
Aren't they divorced? Why would she have
Child
to?
support. Child support. Every time she gets a new job, she has to tell Ricky what her income is.
Actually, no, it's every year on September 13th. I have to tell Ricky Thompson my income, all of my assets, everything.
Yep.
It's a form of harassment because he can talk me that information.
So that's so yeah, basically she has to do that. So I let Rich know, hey, she got a raise, she's got a new job, she's working, cool. And I know Rich. Rich is like an Excel dork. The child support worksheet is like an Excel sheet. You plug in numbers. Rich has formulated his own. So I figured, okay, Rich is going to go pop this in and see that it's not that big of a change because the law says you cannot file a motion to modify child support unless the change to the child support amount is going to be greater than 10%. So, like if it's $1,000, the change after the modification has to be more than $100. If it's $101, the court can order the change. If it's $99, the court can't. Does that make sense? It has to be greater than 10%. So Rich kept trying to just like get us to agree. And I was like, no. Every time they do something that's like counterintuitive to like how things are actually done, I'm like, okay, cool, we're trying this game again. And I was like, no. And so they went ahead and they filed the motion themselves. And I said to Patricia, I bet you money Rich already knows this. He's hoping I won't run the numbers and see. And sure enough, when I ran the numbers, it was a 7.5% change. So it's a groundless, frivolous, and vexatious motion. All the pleadings are in front of the court, and our judge completely disregarded it, like none of us filed it. And that's because I told him that on January 21st, Tennessee was going to take jurisdiction, and Ricky on it's not January, excuse me, November 21st was going to take jurisdiction. And on November 20th, Ricky got that hearing canceled. So now we don't have a court that has jurisdiction because our case has been closed. Well, and we'd have to reopen in Colorado if we had to, but that's where we stand. It's litigation abuse. And the problem is this, our courts cannot do anything about it because they're more afraid of getting in trouble for violating Ricky's procedural parenting rights than they are protecting Patricia and the children. The court is more concerned about being overturned on a verdict than getting these people safe. And I don't think that that's a bad, I don't think they're doing it deliberately. I do think Judge Blue cares about this case. I do think he takes it very seriously. I do think he did everything he could do within the bounds of the law. Maybe that's not fair. He could have probably done a little more, but within the bounds of the law, his order, I don't have anything to attack him on. I don't have anything to appeal him on. I really don't. He tried to do this, and that's when I realized, okay, what he really did is he made it look like Ricky won a little bit in the property area because Ricky needed a win. And even though that may seem like it's slightly unfair to my client, like the phone call thing, he's actually protecting my client. It's really not in the kid's best interest to have 2 phone calls with Patricia because Ricky will interfere in them. So what does the court do? When the law, they can't write the law. All they can do is interpret it. And so the good news is Colorado's working on that, but they just passed the brand new law. We went over it the other day. We talked about it. They do define coercive control. Everything that happened to Patricia Thompson meets this definition. And it's going to change radically in the next couple of years. But what I fully expect is just like with Judge First, we're going to have judges who misapply the law, and we're going to go through about 5 to 7 years of tragedies in the family court system, which is part of the reason I'm getting the fuck out. I can't watch it anymore. Probably not. Ricky Thompson.
No,
Ricky Thompson will probably do this to her until her youngest daughter turns 19.
No, he won't stop. He won't stop. He never stopped on his ex. Even when his son moved in with him, he still was doing it.
I think that's why he's trying to transfer the case. I think he's going to go do the same shit that he just did here.
He will never stop. I mean, for example, apparently he had the old pastor of the church before I got there. Ricky went to talk to him about something that was very important in his mind. The pastor didn't have time to talk to him and was kind of abrupt with him and said, look, I'll talk to you later about this. I can't do it now. He has held on to that grudge. And he would bring, while we were married, he would bring it up at least twice a year and how he felt he should do something about it. He never lets any.
Ricky's version of love is not the version of love that children understand. It's not a version of love that most people accept. He thinks it's love. He thinks that he's doing the right thing. He has convinced himself that he is morally superior. He has convinced himself he's right. He's terrified of being exposed. Every time he gets exposed, it's just the same thing over and over again. Where like that's why the CFI was like the real CFI, the good one was like, why am I even here? Like this is so obvious, you know, and you know, it's just the same thing over and over again. I genuinely believe the courts are more afraid of the reaction of the abuser than they are the safety of the victim.
Especially this one, because everybody knows he has unlimited income and unlimited time. And those two things in a person who has no purpose in life.
Sits there and stews. It's like, think about how we've seen in movies, like the crazy guy who has like, you know, freaking thumbtacks and string on his wall trying to plot and plan. He's been plotting and plan on this woman. And I told Patricia once, I said to her, this is what was perfect about her and I teaming up. I said, think about where Patricia was when she came to me. Patricia was so hyperbolic at the beginning where I'd be like, no, he's full of shit. I know you're freaking out right now. Like when we walked into court that first day and the two kids of his were sitting there in the courtroom, she was like, no. And I was like, fuck him. And then I went out and ripped Rich's ass in the hallway. I was like, what the fuck are you thinking? You know, I handled it. But basically the evolution, she's come along with me. But I said to Patricia, you know, I think you would have put up a valiant fight, but you would have had a hard time. And he probably would have talked to you or coerced you into an agreement. But I said, one thing Ricky Thompson didn't count on in his little plot and plan was he didn't count on Jill Carlson helping you.
And to this day, he still thinks we're stupid.
No, he doesn't think we're stupid. He can't admit that I kicked his ass, just like all these guys. They all want to sit there and call me crazy and say we're in league with the judge and we're prostitutes, whatever. We're cokeheads, whatever. Go ahead, guys. Sorry, I keep swiping the floor with you in court, you know.
But he will never stop. It's, you know, finding out from his own journal entries, he planned this from day one.
Yeah.
That's how twisted and sick this person is. I mean, we saw the evolution of his binder in court.
Yeah.
He's never going to stop till one of us has dirt thrown on us.
Yeah. I think probably what's more likely, he just laid it. It's in that Facebook message. Your children are going to be emotionally damaged. He's going to try to say that you abuse your animals. He's going to take them to Texas and probably have them talk to a Texas CPS worker and try to get an emergency custody order claiming the children are in imminent emotional danger from you because mother has a criminal charge for animal abuse.
And when he does that, I want you to take these recordings and you can give them to me. I will release them to the world.
Well,
I am going to
listen, here's the problem. Right now, you have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And so this recording right here, it's going to come out at some point, but it's not going to come out until your case is dismissed. And the reason why is because Ricky could take one thing you say, or for that matter, just like in Micah Miller's case, take your voice and replicate it and fabricate fucking evidence, making it seem like you did something.
Well, I know he probably has already done it because he was so paranoid about AI technology. Using the voice to coerce money out of him, that he made the kids learn a code word that should they ever get in trouble and they need to call and ask him for money or something, that they use this code word to make sure it's real.
Ricky Thompson, in my opinion, has always had clinical mental health issues, but I believe that this case probably set him over the edge. And I don't think his daughter and him right at the last minute after Waylon shipped off to boot camp suddenly were buddy, but he also paid for her college, let her go to college early and bought her a horse. So I don't imagine after the hearing, you know, they probably stayed that much in touch because she didn't pull off what he wanted her to pull off either.
Well,
Patricia didn't pull off And then Rebecca didn't pull off hiding things from Patricia. And then Waylon and his daughter did not pull off helping set you up.
Well,
So,
apparently, according to the girls, that new dog that he was so in love with went over to his ex-wife's house and now lives there.
Otto?
Yes.
Oh
Well, not
God.
Otto, not Otto.
The female one.
The other one. Yeah.
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 And
Ricky Thompson is, and we asked the judge repeatedly to have him evaluated. And I'll be honest with you, I think that the judge probably, if the parties were going to stay in Colorado, I think the judge probably would have actually granted that because he would have retained jurisdiction. But I think the issue is this. He knew that Trisha was leaving for her safety. Trisha and I talked about it. We talked about it at the very beginning. Like,
it was
because
in our.
I even kind of said, like, can you get out of here? Do you have a place to go? I recommended that she leave. He knew that that was the right choice, but he's like, okay, we're at, Ricky's asking for mental health evaluations in July when our hearing that's been continued 3 times because of him is set in August. And we couldn't get that information because it would have just prolonged everything. And I mean,
prolonged, but in fact, he would have gotten that about me, twisted it, put it out there.
Yeah, shared her mental health information. What does the judge do here? So in my opinion, the only thing the judge can do is say, sir, you're a danger to your kids.
Which he
You're not going to get parenting time until you have therapy. But the problem is this, I had no therapy records. I had behaviors and I had no mental health professionals. If we could have hired, a $25,000, a year custody evaluator that has a PhD, we would have done it, but we couldn't. We had to hire Tisha Strawn and she fucked us over. So then we had to have Tommy Hansen come in and fix what Tisha Strawn did. And the court sanctioned this the whole time because we can't have the judge make a final order until our hearing date. So if Ricky just keeps doing stuff to push back our hearing date, we never get an answer. We never get our day in court. It happened in this case. It happened in every single one of them.
Yeah, I didn't get the justice I deserved.
Not yet.
Not yet. I hope today I do, but in reality, I fear the day that the string that holds his family together is his mother, now that his father's gone. Once she dies, I believe his sister and her family will drift away.
Because he won't have anybody.
And then he won't have anybody, so he's going to do something drastic. I don't believe too much that he'll move here because he can't function outside of
No, listen. He's going to try to coerce you to move there. He already tried that.
Well, he tried to get the court to order it. He tried to get the court to order me to stay in Colorado.
And then he tried to keep getting you back to Colorado. That was the weird thing. This whole thing with the dog abuse, he could have had her picked up while she was there. He was talking to them before she left town. And then waited until after she left town and then had people initiate a letter writing campaign demanding the DA's office demand her back to the state. And I said, why is he trying to get you back there? That's weird. Why was he trying to get Tisha to recommend you stay there and the court to order you to stay there?
Him or Tisha are going to get me.
So
if I step foot,
Kirk, are you okay?
Did we lose him?
I guess. I don't know. I guess we bored him.
No, I believe he will kill me if given the opportunity.
I know. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
But I'm going to say it loud. So if something does happen, everybody's going to know. Just like,
and maybe one of these law enforcement agencies that actually has authority to get over these people will actually listen to me and watch these things because we're detailing crimes. We're detailing crimes and I have the evidence and, because it's a civil matter, no one gives a shit. Sucks.
It's like, if my kids don't come back on Saturday night,
we're not there yet. We just got to pray and be positive and think that they're going to come back. And, I'll tell you one thing. I do know there are corrupt CPS agencies out there. I just dealt with one in Dolores County. That being said, parents who try to do this, they're so confident in their own bullshit. They think they're really good at coaching kids and they're not.
Well, I think the kids kids have an instinct, especially young kids, because we haven't, as a society, trained these instincts out of them. Like,
Well, and here's the thing,
and
Ricky already gave them a training, which is you better do what I say, or you better just they just won't talk.
the thing is they've been clingy for me for the past week and a half. I
I
mean,
know.
clinging to me. Like, we go to the store, they're holding my hand for dear life. You know, I move around the house and they're laying on top of me, just holding on to me for dear life. And I think
How
that's
how long's it been since they saw him? They saw him last September 12th,
September 8th.
September 8th. They've had only phone calls with Ricky, and
Yes.
Ricky, the phone calls are really strange. Ricky doesn't know how to talk to his children, so he just talks to them about weird things like, I saw a kitten today.
Or a homeless dead guy, or
He talks to them about very weird things. He doesn't know how to ask them questions about themselves.
he
In
doesn't.
fact, that was one of the things the CFI talked about. She said
Yes.
Ricky didn't know any information about his children. They didn't have any decorations or toys in their room. There was
No.
this bunk beds that like white walls, and like whenever like she was trying to watch them conversing, he didn't know information. Like he was trying to seem like he was dad of the
He doesn't want to know. Like, on the last phone call, they tried to tell him that we went to a restaurant and had a self-serve ice cream machine. And Rebecca, that was the highlight of the whole trip, was a self-serve ice cream machine. And he cut her off and said, well, I have ice cream at home. I have 4 gallons of ice cream. It is just waiting here. And he went off on a tangent all about himself.
So I want to say something about that because we've talked about this family dynamic because I've told told Trisha that I'm very concerned that Rebecca is getting scapegoated by her father and that Hannah's getting golden child status. And I've got some familiarity with that family dynamic. And I've been very insistent with Trisha, like, hey, you need to get Rebecca some extra special attention. Hannah's young enough now that we can get her away. She's gonna be fine, but Rebecca's been scapegoated by her dad. And I think what's really interesting, I saw this thing about they said that basically the only way that they can really get what Rebecca has to do is whatever Rebecca does has to somehow benefit her father. If it's
Yes.
about something related to him, like, oh, daddy, I love you so much, then she's praised. But if it's like, oh, daddy, I want to be in Girls Who Run, if that doesn't somehow benefit him, whatever pursuit or interest she has, if that does not benefit him, and he doesn't have control over what that is, she will be deterred from doing that passively aggressively.
Yeah.
And the more that she leans into things that she enjoys like that, the further she's the more pressure that's going to be put on her. It's just like my
But
parents' comedy. The comedy for me, it was the best thing for me. It made me so happy, but it didn't benefit my parents and they had no control over it. So they hated it and they punished me by refusing to pretend to participate in anything I did.
Rebecca, she has no interest in boys. She has none of that, yet pretty much almost every phone call is, do you have a boyfriend? Are you friends with a boy? Who are your friends?
I think part of that is the concern that you have, but I think a bigger part of that is he's just fishing for information. For the first time ever, he doesn't know exactly what you're doing and everything that's going on. He gets 30 minutes twice a week to try and figure out what the fuck to do.
And he won't take his full 30 minutes because he tells
Good.
oh
Good.
yeah, I know it's awesome, but he tells the girls, well, I have to save the minutes. It's very expensive.
Yeah, they had to pay for their minutes through the thing. There's something wrong with him. The court knows it. The court even said something to him about him getting mental health treatment, but he didn't order him to it. And like I said, all of this stuff with Plu, it's weird because I feel like I'm talking shit about him and I'm really not. I am being realistic, which I hope again, if he sees this, he'll appreciate. I'm being realistic because I realize he did the best he could. He had an incredibly difficult case with a corrupt investigator, with multiple professionals involved, with me, who's a difficult person. It was a complex case for him too. And I
But
really think Patricia and I have talked about it numerous times where I'm like, it does seem a little unfair, but I really think he did the best he could because he was putting her safety first.
I think he did a good job, but I also think by letting Ricky slide, he made his own work.
I agree. However, there's one
Because
thing I
he
do want
had
to say. there's one thing I do want to say, because I agree with that to a point. I don't think Judge Clue quite got the picture until Ricky filed the complaint on Tommy Hansen. I think that's when things changed, because if you remember, all he really knew, because he was doing the right thing, he wasn't letting me open the door to things. Ricky was trying to bring stuff, and the judge was like, no, that's not before the court. So all the information that he had at that point was a really, really corrupt, clearly biased CFI investigation. And so I think when he started to get the picture was when Ricky pulled the bullshit, because think about all the shit Ricky asked for after that. Ricky
Yeah, he
asked
did.
for the PRE, he didn't grant that. He asked for the mental health eval. Ricky tried to get a continuance. The judge said no. As soon as the judge realized what the deal is, he hammered Ricky with attorney's fees, and he made sure that hearing went forward.
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. I think that some of the stuff in the beginning, you're right. But again, I have a reputation that I don't think is necessarily fair, but they know I'm going to go in every case. And that's one of the things that always pissed me off, where I'm like, why, when we get to the order, you guys always see I'm right. Why do you make me do this every time? But regardless, they make me do it every time. So when I'm jumping up and down in January saying, hey, something doesn't seem right and Ricky violated, and it's something minor that I can't really prove, it's the same concept with you, where it's like they're like, oh, she's just trying to get him in trouble. And again, I think that the judge definitely thought that was the case until Tisha sent the text message. Tisha filed the other reports and went, oh shit, Carlson's telling the truth. That's why we got further in your case than I did in the cases with Judge First, because this judge, Blue, actually gave me a hearing and let me show him I was telling the truth.
it's
That's
just
why you
that,
got where you got.
when you have three professionals saying the same thing and they have no contact with each other, and one of them had no contact with either of us, saying the same things based on evidence that Ricky Thompson gave her, that should have been his wake-up call.
Yeah.
That really
I don't know.
there is something deviously wrong.
There is. But like I said, what does he do? He has to operate within the law. And right now,
But
they're
where are
changing it.
rights?
They're changing it every day. It doesn't say, there's nothing in there that says, hey, if you have a guy that you think is a clinical sociopath, you can take his parenting time away.
But then
It
it goes against my rights, my children's right. My children have a right.
does. I agree with you. And that's what I'm saying. It's this balancing test where I agree with you. I believe, and I think it's going that direction, that safety should be the first consideration. But right now, they were and especially before this change in the law, they were prioritizing the other parent's right to parent over your right to safety. And that's why this is all
My
happening, because
children's rights.
it's getting too bad. Your children's rights as well, but
But the
best
thing,
interest of the child standard didn't tip in one favor or the other. In fact, historically, they didn't even have a prong related to DV, because they said just because someone was abusive in the past doesn't mean they're doing it now. So you can't consider that. They've changed that now. But this thing is changing like literally every legislative session, and our judges can't even keep up with it. And then new things happen. We have PREs that are corrupt and CFIs that are corrupt. Every day there's something new in this field of law. And those of us that do it, like me, are trying to swim with our head above water. The judge did the best he could with what he had. I genuinely
true.
believe.
But when professionals are saying these children don't miss their father, they don't show enthusiasm to see him. They don't speak of him at all, let alone.
That's the problem is this. That's all hearsay shit. Even if the professional said that, Judge Clue has to take that with a grain of salt and look at the totality of everything. And I mean, I think that personally, I would have felt better even if he allocated him the 51 days a year. I would have felt better if the judge said, you are absolutely required to do a domestic violence or excuse me, mental health evaluation and provide that to the court. You don't have to provide it to Tricia, but you have to provide it to the court. And I'm going to make sure you follow all recommended courses of therapy and treatment.
But then
I think he should have been ordered to do the parenting class. He was not.
No.
But it is what it is. So
Yeah.
anyways, Kirk, you look like you are not into this. So you want to call it a night?
Sure. Hey, Patricia, good luck with everything. And I guess the only thing I would say is, as far as going into the holidays and stuff here, just one thing is that worry is a debt that you pay on a bill that may never come due. So
Sure.
don't totally stress yourself out, just in case it goes okay. So
I'm not. I'm just being realistic, but I'm not stressing about it because I'm not going to stress till something happens.
No, and so this
right.
is, and I've talked about this a little bit, but I didn't have to come up with contingency plans because I could look at the law and go, okay, when something happened, I could go, okay, cool, this just happened. Here's what the law says. Now, because these guys are doing stuff that aren't really covered by the law, I have to come up with these like extrajudicial, extra legal contingency plans, and my clients do too. And we've
But
gotten really good at strategizing, wouldn't you say? I think we make a pretty damn good team.
but it also, Elsa, my counselor, told me one time, because I would always go, well, this is what's going to happen. She goes, look, walk through the process. Okay, so it happens. What are you going to do? Come up with that plan and put it in the back of your mind. And that has helped me greatly. So that's
We
why
learned his patterns. He does the same thing over and over and over and over. Same. Even the same topics, the shoes and the dogs. He did the same thing to Lori that he did to Trish. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, we know what he's gonna do.
But I also, found an article the other day about narcissists. When they lose in court, they'll go after animal abuse. For some reason, that's their next big step.
Because they didn't get anywhere.
But
they forget they forget that they forgot to mention it for an entire year while
exactly
they were heavily litigating.
Yeah, it's only but no.
Yep.
So I always have,
like I said, hit that brick wall and come up with something new. Right?
Yep, I always have something in the back of my mind because that's what Elsa taught me, and that's what helps me with my anxiety with all this.
Isn't it weird? Normally, you shouldn't have to live that way, thinking that you're going to get attacked constantly.
I shouldn't have to live where I see a certain type of truck and the bottom of my stomach falls out. Or
I'm the same way. I mean, my situation is different because my abuser is the government. But every time I step out of my house, I look up and down the street to see if there's any cars.
Oh, well, every time
I look at my rear view mirror, I wand my car to see if there's trackers on it.
It's like every time I see a man that kind of looks like him, I freak out. If they're
and I say, even the fact that he was able to find you through your dog's microchip, I was like, oh my God, I never told victims to turn off their pet microchips. I never thought about that. But what an easy way to find your fucking victim.
Well, he's going to find me no matter what, because I have to turn over financial documents every year.
She does. But you have a P.O. box, so hopefully.
Well, no, because by putting down, like if he actually demands, like I had to put down, luckily they didn't notice that we didn't put down a bank. But by the bank I put down.
I think the courts will be more protective of you from that. I think your lawyer can ask for protections on that. So
because
anyways, but like I said, Kirk looks like he's about to fall asleep. So yeah.
I'm just listening, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but so yeah, I'll never escape him. As long as I draw breath in my body, I'll never escape.
I don't really like you saying that because I don't think that's true. That's why we're continuing to fight, Patricia.
Oh no, I'll never give up the fight, but I have to be.
I don't want to say they should never escape him because he's just going to keep doing things, and that's why the law is evolving right now. And hopefully, if he does something that maybe next year is a law, you've got protection. We just don't have it today. Yes. That's why we got to tell this story so that our legislators know what the fuck you went through, so they can make laws to help us. And what I went through as your counsel, so they can make laws to help people like me too, because it was bullshit what happened to both of us. And on that note, I'm mad, and let's go to bed.
All right.
All right, Kirk, you want me to give you a call, or are you good?
I'm good. All
right, cool. Go to bed.
All right.
All right, cool. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yep.
But